तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Last time we saw that the purpose of meditation in Vedanta is different from just a normal understanding of meditation, right? Normal understanding of meditation is what is meditation for? Relaxation,
help us focus.
Exactly, right? Focus, what else? Calm your mind, exactly. Right? So this is the general understanding that people have when they perform meditation. For Vedanta, the whole purpose of meditation, this is calming your mind, relaxation, all that is focus, gaining focus. This is the first stage of meditation. Okay? Later on, the meditation is used for reorienting yourself. So last time we saw how, for example, when you come to the class here, okay, when you hear and you look at the world very differently from what you're used to, you know, the way you're used to thinking, the way you're used to interacting, certain basic assumptions that you have about the world, about yourself. So now in Gita class, what you learn is something quite drastically different from what you thought earlier about everything, right? So now, after the Gita class you go, and what happens? You again start interacting with the world, okay? Now, what is the strength of what you learned during this 1 hour as opposed to all your habitual way of looking at things and assessing things? What is the strength? What do you think is the strength?
Very difficult to apply and bring again.
Okay. Because that habit that you have, that whole orientation which you have had for past how many years? 50, 40, 50, I don't know how, 30, whatever years that you have lived your life, it's just so strong, right? So now you think that now after this one, whatever you have learned in this 1 hour is all going to translate into a completely new behavior, completely new way of looking at things. It is just not going to happen. Okay? So that means now your mind has two parallel things going on. One is the new learning that you have acquired from this class, and the second is what? This whole habit, your personality, which is a unique personality, which is telling yourself different stories about who you are and what the world is, and a certain orientation with which you interact with the world. Okay? So now, what are we trying to do? We are trying to strengthen what? What you have learned in a way that it will percolate into your habitual thinking, and then it will actually make you a different person. Okay? Now that process is not going to be accomplished overnight, right? It will take a lot of time and it requires a lot of deliberation on your part. It doesn't happen automatically either, right? All of you come here and maybe intellectually some of you are bright and you can understand things, okay? But what happens outside the class, somebody who probably doesn't understand it as accurately but tries more can behave differently, even better. Okay? So therefore, it is process where there are two things required. One is re-understanding the nature of realities as it is unfolded in Bhagavad Gita accurately without projecting. The second is your own effort of what? Reorienting yourself. Okay? Now, when you transact with the world, it doesn't really give you that much time to reflect on the teaching and see how your behaviors or your patterns of thinking are different from what it says. Meditation gives you that time to spend with yourself, okay, with reference to your own orientations. Just getting to know yourself better, okay, of where you're coming from, normally where you're coming from. Okay, and slowly and very, very gently, without what? Self-judgment, what? Shift your way of thinking, right? So there is this time that is given, that you decide to give to yourself, staying with the teaching, staying with your own orientation, and what? Understanding what is happening, and then what? Trying to, yeah, exactly. You shift the paradigm slowly and slowly, and you say now, okay, now if this is my persistent problem, right? That this is this kind of thinking I generally fall into, which is unique to you. You have to do your own job, right? Now, how can I look at things differently? Okay, so that means it gives you that time, because otherwise there is no time that you commit for processing what you have learned and reorienting yourself. Okay, so meditation is a very extremely critical part of what re-understanding and reorienting yourself. Okay, so this is what we saw. That we saw how the way it is explained is with in those meditation verses. Okay, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha Sa. Yes, Sada Eva. Sorry, we did it at Alibag. So we did verses Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, 27 and 28. Page 8.
Chapter 5, 27. It's page 8. Page 8. Yeah.
And it was so beautiful that we are wondering whether we should go Tuesday sessions.
We are ready to go in the evening. In the evening we can go and come back.
So we'll do one more in the evening. It's gotten really hot.
Right? So this is what we saw, that whole process of dealing with your own what? Krodha and Bhaya. Krodha is anger, Bhaya is fears, then sadness. All of us we have in plenty, all stored, right? Unaddressed. And unless you do your job, it is never, if anybody expects that by looking into Gita and re-understanding the reality, all of this is going to automatically go away, it is not going to go away. Okay? So you need to spend time and reorient. And the re-shift, you understand in your previous way of looking at things, what is the error? What are the logical errors? Right? And you re-understand the realities, then only you will, what all these emotions, which is a baggage, will go. Without re-understanding the reality, you try to control the emotions, they'll never go. They'll keep on coming back. Okay? So this is that process that we saw. Now, somebody asked that in this whole process, who asked, what is the role that mantra, japa, what role does it play? Who asked that question? Avni, was it you who asked that question?
Yes,
It was Avni because it was
Yes.
prayer. Remember we talked about it on the boat. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a very good question, because in our meditation, that whole process of reorientation, it precedes by japa meditation. Okay? So what is a japa meditation? Japa, right? So this is, you take any given mantra. That mantra has to be meaningful. It cannot be just meaningless sounds, right? So generally we have all these very famous mantras that one of that you can choose, or you can, whichever tradition you come from. It doesn't have to be a Hindu tradition or anything. Any mantra which is meaningful. So we have things like Om Namah Shivaya, Gam Ganapataye Namaha. We have Om Namo Vasudevaya. So any mantra that you have, you say that you are going to chant. What is japa? Repetition of that mantra. Okay? So you say, for 10 minutes, I'm going to repeat this mantra. So now we have to understand what does it do. Why do I chant this mantra for 10 minutes? Okay. So there are several benefits to chanting any given mantra. You can take from your own tradition. If you have a mantra, take that. It doesn't have to be Hindu gods or anything, right? Multiple levels at which mantra works. The first is your mind whole day. There are about 60,000 thoughts. Okay. Now, how does it work? How are these 60,000 thoughts? How do you come up with these 60,000 different thoughts every day? One has to be very creative to come up with. We don't even think about it, right? But so many thoughts we come up with. Now, how does the mind work? How does it create all these different thoughts? Okay? So this is what we call the process of association. Okay? So I think about Arnas, and I think about, oh, Marabar, a hill flat, then I think about the sea, then from the sea I think about, oh, that Turkey coast, then from Turkey coast I will then think about my vacation in Europe. You know, this is how the mind keeps moving from one subject to the other. You don't even realize from where you go to where. And it almost continuously goes, and this is how the mind works, right? Now, what you want to do is say that, okay, that's fine, let the mind go here and there. You're not constantly trying to control the mind or anything. But you say, okay, now for 10 minutes, I want that mind which is wandering to do one job for me, which is Om Namah Shivaya. And you do Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. After the third chant or second chant, what will happen? It will again go. That's how it is used to, right? You'll think about the Shiva, then you'll think about Mount Kailash, then you'll think about your friend who went to Mount Kailash, then how, oh, when I can go. So this is how the mind has been for all these years, right? So now you get an insight. You get an insight that even for 10 minutes, you can't get your mind to do what you want it to do. Even for 10 minutes in 24 hours. Before you didn't even know, because that was the norm. This is how the mind behaved, and this is how it went from one subject to the other. Okay? Now you know that you want, not for the whole day, just for 10 minutes, your mind to do one thing. And what does it do? It just wanders off. Okay? Now, how do you check this tendency for it to wander and just stay with one subject matter? This is what somebody said, the whole purpose, this is for us, it's a starting point of meditation. Okay? To bring focus. How do you bring focus? You say now, okay, you gently, in meditation now you have given a task to your mind. So you know what it is supposed to do. Okay? With reference to that task, this is what? A distraction. Okay? It got distracted and it did something else. So what do you do in meditation? Meditation is the time where you bring it back. Because you first have an insight into your mind that, hey, it's not doing what I wanted to do. Then you do what? You bring it back. Gently bring it back. Bring it back because this is what you have decided for next 10 minutes. Okay? So you say Om Namah Shivaya, you bring it back. This way you check the tendency of your mind to go to different subject matters and then what? Come back to what you wanted to do. Now imagine over a period of time the distractions will be less and less. So that means for those 10 minutes, instead of going out 10 or 15 times, you will go maybe 2 or 3 times and then you will come back. Okay? And the length where you can stay with the chant will go on increasing. Before it was 2 minutes, then it will become 5 minutes, then it will become 7 minutes. This particular focus that we acquire during meditation, you can use when?
Other times.
Exactly. So that means now you are out of meditation, you are a medical doctor. Right? You need to, in order to diagnose the patient, you can't be thinking about 25 things all at the same time. You need to be with the patient and you need to really listen. If you are studying, what do you need to do? Not be with this book and thinking about next vacation, where am I going to go, and what am I going. This is how every child is. Why you keep on telling is you sit with the book. The child, and you don't let the child look at the computer. You tell the child, not to go out and play with friends. What is the child going to do? Can you stop his or her mind from thinking? No. He'll sit in front of the book and what? The mind is wandering, I don't know, God knows where. Okay? And you're pushing more and more and making cutting everything off and just saying, now you have to do this. Are you really helping the child? You are really not. Okay? What do you need to do? Give some way, right, to first, because this tendency of mind to wander is something which is natural and it's human. You need to have some discipline which will enable every human being to focus the mind. It's not easy to do it. Okay? Simple things like that can help a lot, because that will give a mind which is able to stay with a subject matter. It's not a distracted mind.
Medicine for ADHD.
Sorry? Yeah, this attention deficit syndrome, right? This is almost everybody suffers from that. And it's interesting because when I had gone to Ladakh, I don't know how so many of you are doctors, but one lady, she used to say that, during, she has a grandchild, and the grandchild was about maybe 1 or 2 years old. And she was saying that during the feeding time, the child is generally running here and there. So she used to make him watch some educational videos, right? And there was a doctor who was visiting from Bangkok. She was attending the retreat, and she says, this is the worst thing that you can do to a child. At the age of 1 or 2, you expose child to a TV. Because what happens is that in TV, what happens? Everything is constantly moving. The child's mind is not well developed yet, right? And there is a constant change of frame. Okay? You don't realize, because for an adult, that is how our mind works. But for a child's mind, this is something which is just too fast for it to process. By the time it is taking the data and processing what it has already moved to something else. She says this is a sure way, she's a pediatrician, she says this is a sure way to develop what? Yeah, exactly, the attention deficit disorder. She said that you think, and she was so proud that, okay, I don't make the child watch cartoons, but education. She says, but whether it is education or not education, this is certainly not the time for child to be exposed to something like that. And plus the child is learning that, oh, while eating you're not even paying attention to eating, the mind is somewhere else, you're not able to process it, you're just overloading the mind with all this information that it cannot process, and this is what happens. Okay? So many of the things that when the child becomes 10 years old, right, and is having attention deficit, you think you blame the child further. First of all, you introduce habits which are not healthy. Then you start blaming the child, right? And then putting pressure of cutting the child off from everything that we do. Everything is multiplying the problems rather than solving any problems. And then we are miserable and the child is miserable. So much of it is just having certain wisdom, certain perspective. Okay? So this whole thing of the mind to focus on a given thing from young age, if you start, it's an amazing gift to give to a child who is just able to stay with a given thing for a length of time. The rest of the time, when you're not studying, when you're not working, when you're not doing, let mind wander. We are not trying to, please understand, we are not trying to control the mind for all 24 hours, right? And by saying everything, then you become crazy, you become obsessed with the whole thing.
So you're saying just give brief periods.
Exactly. You need those brief periods of concentration. Okay? If I'm at work, if I have to finish my assignment, I can't be thinking about 25 things all at the same time. I just need to focus and I need to...
Multitasking is a bad thing.
Multitasking is a kind of a distracted mind. It's a superficial mind. It's a superficial mind which can do things, but you will see so many errors. You don't do anything well. What we say is, you need to do one thing, and at that given point in time, your focus has to be on that. You can do it much better, much quicker, without errors. So you need, this is how you can accomplish many things, okay, but remain not stressed. You are cool, you are relaxed. So you are, when you are listening to somebody, you know, if you are constantly like on the mobile and then you are thinking about my child and you are neither with this person nor you are doing any justice to that person nor you are doing justice. It's all, the mind is distracted.
But Nima, do you think you can generalize something like this?
So
Do you think you can generalize something like this? Does it vary from person to person?
certainly, it varies from, in fact, what you are saying is absolutely right. Why do some kids do really
Yeah,
well
there
at
are
school?
people who are actually
Right.
able to do
Absolutely, absolutely.
Do
So
it
that
otherwise.
means that some kids are able to sit and able to study, right? And some minds are distracted. You're absolutely, so there is a whole big variation.
Yeah,
It's
but some
not-
people can do 10 things and still achieve whatever they want to. and
That's
some
true.
Yeah, the
people
time
may
they're
do
doing
one
that
at a
one
time
thing.
and may not.
True. That is true. But generally, what they say is, if you stay at no given point in time, the way the thoughts work, okay, you can't have two simultaneous thoughts at one time. So you have very small gaps, but you have many different thoughts. If I want to finish one task, generally it is good to give it a thought and finish it, and then you can move. In fact, you can move to the next task, but you can't simultaneously. The minute you start thinking about things simultaneously, you are a little bit
Compromising. Something was
And
being
I think the
unfinished.
recent research, you know, before people were very proud and said, oh, I multitask, the multitask woman. But I think the recent research has shown exactly what you're saying, that the tasks, when they are done simultaneously, are not done to their optimum.
I think the multitasking woman is one who can achieve different tasks in different areas, but do one thing at
At
a time.
which is
I
very
mean, she
different.
can do home and then go into
Exactly,
work
yeah.
and then do run
Yeah,
the errands,
yeah,
rather than
yeah.
doing all at
Yeah,
one time.
yeah.
Absolutely. See, multitasking, the real meaning is that you are a versatile person. You can
And you
accomplish
can
many
switch.
things.
Yes.
And you can switch.
Your
That is a
focus.
very
Thoughts
positive
is a
thing.
problem because then also your interpretation in terms of people around you becomes very it's very hard. Yeah, meaning if I'm focusing on one thing, then everybody is with me on the one thing. But if I am doing 10 things simultaneously, everybody cannot stay with me on 10 things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in
so it
terms
leads
of
to
But
an
interaction,
interpersonal,
you
yeah.
can't really stay with 10 things.
The other way
It's
around.
simultaneous.
And neither can anyone else. So your
Yes.
interactions will also suffer. That's what she's saying.
It
Which
can be
is right.
downright dangerous if you're on a mobile, you've seen in a car accident.
I know, that's,
People who are
yeah.
trying to text, or trying to speak and trying to drive, it's not possible.
It's not possible, exactly. You think that your brain can do all these things simultaneously, but you actually can't. There's a
No, but
distraction.
even at work, when the phone is constantly ringing, like I'm sitting in the clinic and then somebody is calling up and telling me, now can you send the car here, right?
Yeah.
Whatever way up, it irritates me.
It is
really
frustrating.
irritates me.
Yeah, meaning your internal stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, internal stress builds up. This is why you need so many of these stress release seminars, because when you are overloading your mind, right, it is just not able to process things. It creates stress.
I really
And
feel
that
these
is why
WhatsApps
you
are creating stress in my life. There's 10 different groups because you're reading so much information all the time.
No, I think
You
the
scan
random
Random
phone
rubbish.
per se has caused a lot of stress in everybody's life. The cell phone per se.
Oh, yeah.
Because one, that Indians are not disciplined at all. They want to know now, everything right now. They do not believe in, even the few patients who text me saying, "Oh, we didn't want to disturb you. If I don't answer immediately, I'll get 3 pings. Query, question mark, Arey, Baba, you've texted me, so I will reply within the day, within
Yeah.
like an hour. But no, then there will be 3 question marks. Why aren't you answering, doctor? Answer. So it's like a little ridiculous, but it's very, very,
Yeah.
All of us to
Yeah.
complete.
But you know, haven't you met somebody and you're talking to them and you feel that they're not with you?
With you.
Yeah,
And I think that
absolutely.
is such an awful
Irritating.
thing.
That's
You
an
know they're
awful
thinking
thing.
of something maybe more important than what you're saying, or and it's really very disconcerting.
Absolutely.
And so many people do this,
And in-
especially in a social.
In a social
Sure.
gathering. I think
Gathering.
these parties are
Yeah.
one place where it is so common. Nobody is with you. You're with
Yeah.
everyone, but you're with nobody.
Yes.
Because by the time you're
It's
talking
true.
to this person, your attention is who's
Yeah,
coming,
who-
who's
yeah,
going,
yeah.
who's
Who's
wearing
on,
red,
yeah,
who's
yeah.
the jewelry, who's
The
sari.
eyes are-
Your mind is
And also
totally
you're tired by the end of the
mode.
day, so you're just exhausted.
And the
pushing
music,
yourself
there's
to
some
go.
loud.
I know. Actually,
And
that
plus,
also.
you are
that music.
constantly judging yourself against all that. You know, somebody's jewelry as opposed to my jewelry, somebody's dress, and so there is so much
Yeah.
overload of information, and you are with everyone, but you are with nobody. This is why many people have told me, I don't know, again, now, you know, initially they used to love going to parties and they were really, and now they get exhausted. Because in fact, party, I don't want to say is good or bad. It's fun. It is meant to be for fun. But even the parties, turn out to be
Stressful.
stress. Why? Because so many things are happening during this 2 hours, which is meant for your entertainment, where so many things are happening which are actually not self-enhancing for you.
Yeah, because you've not let go those 10 other things that you should have done, could have done, needed to do.
Exactly.
Whatever.
The party
Not only that,
itself
but
is
even
a
in the
stress
party,
associations.
that all these different inputs that you receive, your inability to process it, you know, to say, okay, now if I'm talking to her, I need to
But I
spend
need to
time.
spend time.
Then I can
That's
move to
right,
you, you know.
yes.
But while I'm thinking and
Right.
I'm already saying, I know who
Oh,
Sagar
no.
is speaking to, and then
I want to
what
be
is
part
she
of that
wearing and what is
conversation, yeah.
exactly, right? So that means that very event itself is now, so many things are happening with reference to my mind that it actually produces stress. This is why people then stop, they stop liking it. It's supposed to be for your entertainment. There is nothing wrong in going to parties as such. It's good. It's good to meet people. It's good to talk to them. But
It's a
if these
very
are the
key thing you are saying, that a lot of the enjoyment is gone,
Gone.
because of distraction.
exactly.
Your mind is somewhere else.
Exactly. This is the key thing that I'm saying. See, our class of Gita class is not party going is non-spiritual. I'll never say things like that. Right? And that you have to have stopped the, if you stop the desire of going to a party, you're more spiritual. I'll never make a claim like that. What I'm saying is that very thing where you go for your enjoyment turns out to be stressful for you because you're not able to handle it.
But isn't that because all of us take on way too much in the day? Today, if you notice, instead of doing 3 tasks or taking on 3 things, we all do about 6 to 7 things. By the time you come to the evening, you're so exhausted that you are unable to go and socialize. I don't want to be nice to your friend. I want to be in bed.
So this is what I think what Sumi is saying, that is the key, right? In, it's not about reducing the number of things, right? It's not like if I do 3 things, but if my mind is all over the place, even in those 3 things I'll get stressed out. So it's not reducing or increasing as such. I mean, there is, after a point it becomes too much, but
The body needs rest.
whole attitude and the relationship, while you are doing it, right? If you are with it and if you can finish it, in fact, it will not produce any stress.
Yeah, and a lot of it is your attitude, because your energy varies so much from day to day. There are some days when you can do 15 things and not be tired. And there are some days you do 3 and you're exhausted from the morning.
It's also what stimulates you mentally.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
you
your
can go-
focus.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's your focus that you're, not able to drag your mind away from something that's pulling you down or
Exactly.
whatever it is.
So it's control, isn't it?
So
the
I-
mind control.
See, I don't
No?
even want to talk about the mind. I think it's embellishing mind with right attitudes, right understanding, right perspective. Otherwise, control becomes another huge,
strain. Yeah,
huge
yeah.
this
Yes,
I have
yeah.
to control my mind,
Yeah,
I have to
yeah,
control
yeah,
my mind,
yeah.
my mind wanders, my
Yeah.
mind wanders. You're constantly obsessed with
Yes,
somehow controlling your mind. Here we are really, it's a very sophisticated,
Relaxed.
very refined, it's really intelligent interventions in proper understanding of things, letting go all these superficialities, burdens, very intelligently. Okay, we are not talking about controlling it. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, now my mind is, I'm talking to Madhvi and then it is going to Sagar, so now controlling. We are not creating this kind of obsession, please. Look at the language. When I use the language, it is really in keeping with Gita. Gita doesn't have this language, control your mind. Okay, don't think about it. It doesn't have this whole do's and don'ts. The whole book is a highly sophisticated book. It analyzes. It makes you see how things work. Where are the distortions? Once you understand where are the distortions, it gives you certain tools to overcome those distortions so that you can live intelligently. Very beautiful way of handling the human mind. Very, very refined way of handling the human mind.
It's not an imperial command.
It is not an
It's a
impediment.
suggestion.
It's just making you see how your mind works and gives you tools to help yourself to a better way of living and better way of you utilizing this amazing mind that you have been given. It's a greatest gift. Okay, so this is the first thing. By just bringing the mind back, you see how many things you are taking care of. Now the second thing of mantra meditation is a lot of our suffering, for example, okay, a small event occurs and I'm like devastated, right? So somebody even thinks like, what is this problem? This is almost like a non-problem, and for that person who's going through it, it is like one whole big thing. Yeah, exactly. It is like some huge mountain or some huge burden that has happened. Okay? So now that means what has happened? What has happened is there is an external stimuli which has happened, one triggering event. Okay? Now, as a result of that triggering event, what we have done, that thought, we have totally escalated it. How?
Maybe bigger than what it is.
Series of
Association.
Series, not one. Series of associations. Series. We create one whole big story from that little triggering event. Okay? Then we start believing that that story, which is actually our own imagination and our own some logical conclusions of if this happens and then this, and entire thing is imaginary.
But that has happened because of some past trauma.
Some past data, but I'm putting
Yeah,
it all
and of course
together.
it's truth and things that you believe are true. You
Exactly.
believe them to be true.
True.
Yeah, but they may
Absolutely.
never
But whether
happen.
they have consequences or whether
this
they serve
particular
any
event.
purpose is
Exactly.
more the question, because they may be true even.
They even may be
Yeah.
true, but then to create that worst case
Yeah.
scenario,
That's
okay,
the truth.
and then to make your decision based on thinking that worst case scenario which has not yet happened to be true, okay, that means your decision making is going to be faulty.
But even if it's true, you have to let it go. That is,
No, if it is true, you need to identify what is it that I can change now. And what can I do proactively to what?
Make it best.
Make it,
Take a
you
best
know, change
decision.
the course that I'm imagining.
You
That
need
is
to
a
change
very
your
practical.
thinking.
You need to change your thinking.
You shouldn't be stupid, just let go, let
No,
go.
no,
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
You can't.
No, I think
Absolutely.
modern-
This
I
is
think
why.
her point is that whatever the build-up is, it comes from something in the past,
Yes.
and there is truth
Some
to that
data.
pain.
Absolutely.
There is truth to that pain. I'm not reacting to that pain without it without it being a real pain. Real.
Okay. Now-
then I need to let. How does one let go and
But
change your thinking so that it is not pain?
It may not
Excellent.
happen again.
Now,
That
Gopi
way the
is
first
saying, she's making a different point.
Yeah.
Okay?
This is a different
This is a
point, yeah.
different point she's making. what she's saying is, this is something which the psychologists talk about a lot, right? What she's saying is, now something has happened with, let's say, Madhuri, something that's a triggering point, okay? Now, in that event, what actually triggers that whole big sadness for me or whatever, it reminds me, that external stimuli reminds me of
Of the past,
something,
yeah.
of the past thing that is which is associated with lot of pain. Okay, so therefore, right now, when the things are happening, I lose the lucidity. I think it is Madhvi which is causing me all this huge pain. Actually, it is my stored pain from childhood, right? Which now is coming out because there is some similarity between the situations.
So it could be Madhvi only that gave you the pain.
It could be Madhvi, or it could be my own thing, right? So there are two possibilities. Now, first I need to know which of the two is true. Nobody spends time even ascertaining now where exactly this pain is coming. I am feeling pain is a reality. Most of the time we are not even willing to be with that reality. We keep on shoving it because we cannot stand what we have named as negative emotions. All these are huge problems. That's why Gita does not label emotions as positive and negative. The minute you start labeling your emotions, sadness, fear, anger, sadness, as negative, what is going to be your whole thing? Avoid it, suppress it. Because you don't want to be stuck with something which is negative. What we say is, the range of emotion that a human brain is given is nature's gift to a human being. Don't resist it. Try to manage it with wisdom. Okay? Don't label. The first thing to handle your emotion is not to label it. The minute you label an emotion, you are stuck.
Psychologists tell you the exact opposite. Label it, accept it.
No. What we say is, you don't label it. You don't label it because sadness, there is some reason why it comes. So instead of judging it by saying, oh, I'm having this, sad moment which is a negative emotion, what you say is, sadness is there is a cause.
So accept it. So
Accept
instead
it.
of labeling, accept it. And then deal with it.
Sadness is there.
But when you break it down, it
Yes.
invariably ends up being either an expectation or a truth that you
Yeah,
find
you
hard
have
to
to
accept. I mean, it really boils down to that.
Exactly. So that means, can you give an example, Arnas? This is a very, very good point. Can you give an example?
I mean,
Give
if
a
you
concrete
analyze
example.
what generated your fear
No,
or
but give an
sadness
example,
or-
like give a scenario, give a case, give a situation if you can. It is very nice what she's saying.
So maybe Madhvi says something to me
Okay.
today, and I no whatever. I feel
Everybody's talking.
if we are associated, we're all thinking of Madhvi right now. Yeah, so we have a conversation,
Okay.
and I might feel that she said something that I feel she's not understood maybe what I'm saying to her. And if I can actually then just explain it and say, listen, this is not what I meant, it would probably be fine. But now I am saying that day she said that to me.
So you're expecting her.
Yeah, and that day I was upset, so now that upset of that day is back, and because of that upset of that day, I feel that it's even worse, so let me just stay away. Why bother? Maybe there's something beyond what that conversation is. So I take it away and I'm carrying that day's pain, now I've added new pain.
Exactly. This is what happens. You carry forward the past thing, which is some memory is there. So you can't totally not remember things, right?
Yeah.
But absolutely, so many of our things that you want to improve the relationship, but you can't improve because you are in that kind of a deadlock. Why? Because we both carry memories of the past and all these associations. So the present gets all loaded with all the past things, and you're not able to just clarify things as of
there is
today.
a wrong assumption in my mind that Madhavi should realize what I'm saying, because I expect her to know me enough to be able to know exactly what is happening in my head and in my system.
Absolutely. But here, what we are trying to say is, well, how does meditation help in this whole process, right? So what we are saying is that whole building up of a story, whether it is the present story that I'm building up, or based
Croissant, something on that. Please.
There's
There's mango cut in the kitchen also.
Arre bichare. Don't go.
I'll talk to you.
And clear it, huh?
So what happens is, this whole big association, whether it is belonging to the present assumptions and my past interactions, or as Gopi says, right, it is from my own childhood with a different person altogether, right? It's like, I'll give you an example how these past behaviors that Gopi is talking about, we carry forward. And not recently, when we were in Bangkok, one woman, she came to us and she said that every interaction of hers, she always, whether it was in her job, she would feel that, somebody, why should I get the promotion? Or even some simple thing like, if there is a party and two people are talking, she said she's unable to just go and join the conversation because she always feels, oh, I'll be intruding. So there's always, she's telling herself, right, that she is not important.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So then she wanted to get over this whole thing. And then, because you may think that this is it's a party thing, so that, how people start giving techniques, how you should go and, so here what we started to do is to see a little bit if there was some childhood event which was making her assess very, very different situations in a manner that is one central message that I'm not important. Okay? And it manifests in so many different ways. At workplace, in a party, at home, in every different situation, but there is one central message that I am not important. So then she realized, and that is, as a child, she was not as good as her sibling in studies. So constantly, in fact, she doesn't even remember the parents telling that you're not good at studies, not good at studies. But she only remembers that her siblings were praised. Whenever the results come, the siblings were so praised that, oh, you're doing so well, you're doing so well. She automatically assumed that she's not good. Okay? And not only she's not good, my parents don't love me. All these is a child's addition. All the loaded child, just as we adults load, kids also load. Okay, so that means there is one fact that the parents are praising the child who's done well in school. Okay, and the parents, either they reprimand, then it is even worse. But even if they don't reprimand, this is like the best case scenario, and you don't give any feedback to the other child. Look at the child's world. Okay, in her world, it was my parents loved the other child, my siblings more. I'm not important, I'm not loved. Anyway, whatever I do, okay, is not going to be good enough. So the child has totally internalized this message to herself. She realized, okay, now as she's grown, okay, this particular message that I'm no good, that others deserve it more than me, this comes everywhere. It comes when she's in a party. Oh, I should not. If I go, I'll be disturbing.
It's a recurring story.
It's a recurrent story in different, totally
Every different.
unconnected
And it
situations.
can happen at any point in your life with anybody.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right? Or at workplace, oh yeah, my colleague deserves the promotion more than I'm not important, right? There is one central message which is carried forward in different situations, and you think that this response is situation specific. It is not
No,
situation
no.
It's
specific.
the load you carry.
It is the load that we carry. And most of our lives even goes not knowing the load that we carry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't see it.
You don't even see it
Yeah.
because you
And
think
meditation allows you to get.
exactly.
What? Sorry, what did you say?
Meditation gives you
That
that
time
time to
Absolutely.
Understand
clarity.
it.
To
get the
to get clarity into the insight as to, so what is it really? What is the real trigger? What is the real provocation?
Or what is the common?
What is the common? What to see the
thing?
pattern?
What is it that you're
Yeah.
holding from each thing?
Where are you coming from?
So now, what the mantra, what it does is something also very important. In addition to focusing your mind, it curbs the tendency of our mind to increase and build up picture through association. Why? Because in this, what is the first chant? Om Namah Shivaya. What is the second chant? Om Namah Shivaya. What is the third chant? Om Namah Shivaya. So that means that building up story, which is